Hi, I'm Peter Thomson and welcome to the Economics of Innovation. Today we're going to run through a slideshow presentation that I've created called Execution Eats Strategy for Breakfast. How to grow your brand by delivering when it really counts. It's proved to be quite popular on a website called SlideShare, so you can check it out in the link below. But we're going to run through it here today. So, first I want to talk about the last mile. The last mile is the final step in the supply chain. It's when the rubber really has to hit the road, where you've got to deliver every time. So if we take, for example, an electricity grid, even if the entire grid is still intact, the loss of that last mile that leads to your house could take out the power to your home. So you've really got to deliver all the way through to the last mile. So what does this mean in business? So for example, in the channels to market for your product, if you can't get your product to the market, then no one can buy it. Your channels to market are so important that sometimes you need to take matters into your own hands. So for example, Vibram was simply a rubber shoe sole maker until the shoe companies that they were working with as customers refused to take on their new innovative product, which was a toe-shaped shoe rubber. Totally innovative new way of looking at the market. They took the risk to create the product themselves, and now Five Fingers is a global consumer brand. So that means winning at the decision point. You need to win at the point where the decision on purchasing your product in the last step is made. Everything else leads up to or follows on from that moment. So for example, having come hundreds of miles to the store, your product and for example, a cereal simply needs to be picked up from the shelf. Everything else needs to be geared to delivering on that moment. There are actually a couple of moments of truth. Every product has a moment of purchase and a moment of use. You need to win at both of these touch points. So for example, Apple, they streamline the in-store point of sale purchase process by making it mobile and instant. This blends with the products to create a total experience. So you need to be thinking through your value chain. You're part of an end-to-end chain of events. Each incremental step adds value to that final moment of use. So if we take, for example, all the way from a fishing boat maker and a crab fisherman through to the chef Heston Blumenthal, who would license his name and be involved in recipe design, all the way through to the retailer Waitrose and then you at home. Every step adds value to a branded, ready-to-eat risotto. You need to be aware of all of those steps in your value chain. And it's quite a long chain. You need to take responsibility for how each step adds value to the final moment of use. Even if it's outside of your narrow focus in your business, that longer supply chain, that longer value chain awareness is so important. So when you purchase, for example, a can of Coke, then a computer system indirectly ends up sending a cascade of restocking orders through a series of different companies that eventually results in the mining of more bauxite for a replacement can or additional recycling of aluminium just from that initial purchase. So it sets off a cascade of events, and as a business you need to be aware of how they all link together so that you can do the best job of adding value to your portion. And often that means being really user-centered, even if you don't think that you touch users directly. Whatever product you make, eventually someone will use it. That user is a human being with wants, needs and fears, just like everyone else. So for example, multi-million-dollar industrial equipment can be rendered almost useless by a hard-to-use interface. So you can have done the best R&D, best product development, sold in the technology, but if it's hard to use, it's going to fail to really deliver value. So that often means thinking beyond just widgets. So whatever product you think you sell, you're really selling the experience of using that product. For example, Fred Perry don't sell t-shirts or polo shirts. They sell sunny Sunday afternoons playing tennis in the garden with your friends. Now Fred Perry means a lot of different things to a lot of different people these days, and that brand has evolved. But fundamentally, whatever marketplace they're targeting, They're not just selling commodity t-shirts, they're selling an experience. Often delivering on that experience means really understanding your audience. Every product has an archetypal consumer, that embodiment of your audience. If you can get to know their geography, their identity, and their aspirations, then you can be much more specific about social media, community building, and product development. So for example, BMW know that in the UK they don't sell just cars. They're really selling freedom to, for example, a 38-year-old accountant from suburban Essex who really wishes that he was a nightclub promoter or a secret agent. So they're not just selling cars, they're selling the ultimate experience. But often to have credibility, that means telling real stories. People are much more influenced by editorial reviews, peer testimonials, and even celebrity endorsements than any other brand factors. For example, Red Bull uses sponsored athletes to create ambassadors and brand ambassadors that convey the Red Bull attitude much better than any advertisement. So you need to execute. Even with the best of strategic intentions, you'll ultimately be judged by what you can execute and deliver for your end users. Execution really does eat strategy for breakfast.